Okay, so we're going to talk about ATRAC specifically in a minute, but just before we do, it'd be good to understand the background on, I don't know if it's the parent company or the sister company, NKA Tech, if you can just sort of put that company in context with ATRAC.
Effectively, NKA Tech is we're a value-added reseller. We specialize in networking equipment, everything from structured cabling through to servers, switches, and everything in between. And we focus predominantly in data centers because most of our clients are based there. It's fintech. We do a lot of nearly all our clients are in the fintech and specifically in high frequency trading. That's kind of where our focus is. We'll do solutions for them. And that's kind of what led us into ATRAC, basically working on large projects for them.
Okay, yeah. So ATRAC, the opportunity, how did that come about? What did you identify, and what action did you subsequently take?
It was a tricky one. We were actually on site with a client commissioning a large project, and what we noticed was what they were doing with the decommissioned equipment, specifically the hard drives. And we looked at it and we thought, nah, there has to be a better way than this. And my background is robotics and automation, so I've got an engineering background, and I like finding little hobbies and projects to keep myself busy. And then after looking at that, we thought there must be a better solution. So we came up with a little backroom project, and that's kind of where ATRAC got created.
Okay, so I think the focus of ATRAC is data destruction technology, and in terms of what you've done, you've developed the mobile data destruction system, or MDDS. So it'd be great to understand a little bit of the background. You obviously said sort of your background, but how did you actually come about to develop the system?
Yeah, as I said, we went and thought there must be a better way than things are getting done right now. So we started off with we looked at it different ways, and we thought the best way is to do it on site. There's no point the data leaving site. So we wanted to get something small enough. So we kind of started with there, and we realized what people really want is double protection. So we came up with the idea of taking photos, high resolution photos before and after destruction. And we came up with all the must-haves, and then we decided, okay, that's the perfect system. Now, how do we package this? And then we went and spent a good year and a half in R&D and developing both the software side of things, so it's very easy and intuitive to use, and also trying to get it so it's small enough so it can be moved around. And the most important is robust, because we don't want someone's busy with a really large decom project, and then the last thing that holds them up is our trolley. So we've gone through, I think a test bench is sitting at like 5,000. We've cycled it 5,000 times and it's still going strong. So that's kind of how we developed that. And some of the problems we noticed that we try to address is permanent data destruction. It's a complex and overlooked topic that organizations need to address properly. Large budgets are allocated on protecting operational data while ignoring destruction of inactive data. The risks to businesses are immeasurable, as you're probably well aware, including everything from non-compliance lawsuits to loss of trust, damage of a business reputation. We, let alone the liability, because according to the new GDPR standards, punishment can be handed out to managing directors, shareholders, board members, and data protection officers. One of the things we looked at while we were developing this is it's an article done by IBM. It's called the Cost of Data Breaches Report 2022. And they mentioned there that 83% of companies have had more than one data breach. 60% of organization data breaches led to price increase, which they had to pass on to the clients, and 19% of those breaches occurred because of compromise at a business partner. So they used a third party, either for moving data or data destruction or something. And then a further 19% was just due to lost or stolen data. And if you consider the total average cost of a breach, according to IBM, is 4.35 million. So it's it's scary how this can add up. And most people, like I said, they protect the active data, but inactive data often gets forgotten. And with a marginal investment and a procedure change in data destruction strategy, that's the best insurance against a compromise from improper storage disposal.
Okay, and in terms of how it actually works, I think we can see in the background a unit there, so people get some idea of
There we go.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
But in terms of how it works, how how much manual involvement is, how much automate, just talk us through the process.
Yeah, it's effectively the it MDDS. We've called it that, and that stands for Mobile Data Destruction System. It covers everything from the range of hard drives, backup tapes, broadcast audio, videotapes, all for recycling purposes. It also physically destroys hard drives and solid state drives, all within itself. So no need for third parties. The process is quite simple. So engineer logs on to the trolley. He selects a job from the open job list, enters the drive details into the system. So we've got a little scanner, scan the serial number, scan the part number, loads it in. You can just see the little arm over there. We've got a high resolution camera. So it loads it under there. It takes a high resolution before image. And what that image does is it gets time stamped, and especially on the digital version, you can actually zoom in the certificate and verify the serial number on the actual image. So that's why we specifically went for high resolution on that one. Once the image is captured, the drive's loaded the degausser. Once the degausser is processed, it records the Gauss level of degausser automatically, verifies that it's passed. It then prompts the user to load it into the crusher, which snaps it in half. And then that also records penetration, pressure, all of those fundamentals to make sure they've reached the key points. And then once that's done, he gets prompted to load it into the for a second image after destruction image. Once that's done, he can either process another drive or just close the job down. And then the certificate's automatically generated after that point.
Okay, and in terms of the benefits, I mean, you obviously alluded to the IBM study, so clearly people are being more responsible, shall we say, with getting rid of their data. But is there a list of benefits you sort of put out there as to all the things that it can help people do with around compliance and stuff?
Yeah, the benefits specifically for our trolley is one of the key things we designed was it had to be small and compact. So the nice thing is you get quite a few companies offering on-site data destruction, but that's usually involves someone parked in the car park with a shredding truck. That's if they can even get close enough. Ours is true on-site, meaning you could actually wheel the trolley into a cage or suite. You could even run it into hot or cold aisle and operate from there. The drive has to move about 30 centimeters before it's processed. So it keeps everything, the less it moves, the less risk there is. And that's kind of one of the key things we designed from the get-go was that. We also wanted speed. So the cycle time of the steps are laid out is 55 seconds. So start to finish is about 55 seconds to process the drive. And then the nice thing is the certificates are customizable. So once we supply this to the client, they can customize it to their suits. We had one client who wanted 2 certificates generated because the process, the amount of data they generate, they wanted one high level one with all the images. And then they also wanted a simpler one where the images are removed and it just lists all the serial numbers. And then if they want to go in further, they can go to the high level certificate. There's we store all the certificates on our system for 5 years. For compliance generally states 2 to 3 years, but we decided better safe than sorry, so we've extended that to 5 years. So all the equipment is stored securely here in the UK on our servers, the certificates that is. The nice thing is the client will also get his little portal, a personal portal they can log into. That's where they can manage the logos if they have multiple machines, manage the engineers, manage locations, open and close jobs, and have access to the certificates if they haven't been emailed directly. It plugs into a standard 220 volt outlet or 240 volt outlet, 3 pin. So nothing special. Most data centers, that'll be fine. And then, as I mentioned as well, robustness. We've cycled over 5,000 through our test meal, and that's the only reason we haven't done more is because it's quite a tedious, boring job, sitting there processing 5,000 drives, as you can imagine. So whoever's in the doghouse and comes late to the office, that's their job for the week, to process a few drives and just get the numbers up. And then what it does is it helps companies, it guards the business reputation and customer trust. And that's one of the key benefits we try to push people is education and convincing them that there is a better way of doing it. And then one of the nice features, just to set customers' mind at ease, because whenever you take on a new tech, you don't want the hassle of that comes with it. So part of it is whenever we deliver a machine to a new client, we'll do on-site training for the engineers. And also we provide a full maintenance service. So included in the trolley is a 24-hour call number you can phone if you have any technical support. If it gets escalated and they aren't able to resolve it, within 24 hours, an engineer will be on site to address any concerns. Or so far, the only time we've had to come on site was not because of the trolley, unfortunately because of user error. Where we have quite a big logo, that label that says remove all caddies, and they managed to, I don't know how, fit a drive in there with a caddy on, and it got wedged. Look, it took 5 minutes. We unwedged it, but it just gives people peace of mind that there is that support that we do offer with the product.
Okay, and you've referenced obviously that some other systems you can't get them, close to the drives.
Yeah.
But in terms of how you'd compare contrast with other systems out there, what would you say? Obviously, you listed the benefits, but just compare what else is it in the market to what you're doing.
Specifically to what we're doing, nothing, because usually what happens with decommissioning is clients wash their hands of it. In other words, they'll get an ITAD in. ITAD will come in and he will do the decommissioning for them, get rid of the hard drives, get rid of the hardware because they want the hardware. I'm not saying ITADs don't have their place. They can be a valued addition, and the blame when it comes to loss due to ITADs, and that's generally quite a large ones that have happened, is because of ITAD or third-party involvement. But the problem is when companies select ITADs, they generally base it on price and service. But as the price point drops, so does the service level inevitably. ITADs generally will recoup the money by reselling the equipment on to get a bit of additional income and to offset the cost of it. But as the service level has dropped, that's when the problems can creep in. Now, not all companies have the capacity to accommodate in-house data destruction. They might have presence in multiple data centers. They might rely upon a third-party contract or colo smart hands to do most of their hardware work, and colocation space as well. And unless you've got your own cage or suite and you're using colo space, it's not an option. That's where we think data centers, they could step up and be market leaders by offering the client's ability to perform data destruction using their own engineers in the DC. Offering the service can also have a additional revenue generation for data centers by making on-site data destruction possible in data centers. You will be able to show your clients that data centers truly care about being safe and secure. All the time is spent, all the time and money that's been spent on designing man traps and biometric access control in data centers, yet drives can and do leave site. It only makes sense. Data created at the DC should be destroyed in a DC, and that's kind of our mantra.
Okay, and in terms of, I guess the proof of the pudding would be in the eating. So in terms of customer feedback with the machines that you've got out there, it'd be good to understand. Obviously the person that didn't quite understand it and jammed it, yeah, but no, in terms of the overall customer feedback, what can you tell us?
This is a good story. I like using it, and it happened by chance. A good client of ours who on the NKA Tech side, They quite small. They've got suites and cages, but they're not a data processing site. They predominantly crunch numbers. So we spoke to them. They went and tested it, liked the idea, but we were trying to get it to fit. They phoned me up and said, "Oh, we've got a problem." And I'm like, okay. They have a client. Whenever they have faulty drives, generally they have to process the drive inside the cage, and they use software. There's quite a few brands out there where it's software enabled erasure, but for some reason they couldn't get the drive to come online to wipe it. Now they stuck in a tricky situation. The drive can't leave the cage till it's wiped, but they can't log in to wipe it. So they phoned me up and they said, "Look, do you mind if we take a trolley? Because we've got a few drives, and this client's particularly paranoid about data, and rightfully so. It's a finance house." So we went and bought the drives, trolley in, we signed a contract with them, a 3-year contract, dropped it off. They used it, loved it, sorted them out. About 6 months later, I was going through the system and I was logging in, and I noticed they'd only used it 3 times in 6 months. So they'd only processed 3 individual drives. So I phoned them up and I said, "Look, you're a good client. I feel bad that you guys haven't utilized as much as you thought. I'm willing to scrap your contract and I'll take it back off you." And they turned around to me and says, "No, it's fine. I'll keep it." And I'm like, "But you've only used it 3 times." They said, "No, because we do client show rounds to show them our cages and suites and everything. And then every time they'll come past or look at it and they'll go, 'What's that?' And we'll tell them, 'Oh, we process drives inside the cage.'" And they're like, "Really? You can do that?" And they said, "Yeah." And they've won 2 contracts because of that. So to them, they're happy to keep the trolley, and they don't use it nearly as much as they thought they would, but the amount of business it's generated for them by being able to show the clients how seriously they take security.
Yeah, and just following up in terms of the contracts, then is there one standard contract you offer? Or are you fairly flexible? Just I guess interested. How do they go about acquiring, or is it
Yeah,
even for rent for a period of time where they can do, as you say, your miscreants in the office? You get someone there, just stand there for a
yeah.
week, trashing up. How does it work?
Generally, the way we're looking at it is for clients that we've worked it out. If you processing more than 20 to 25 drives a month, we're much more cost effective than even off-site shredding. The different ways of data destruction are either on-site shredding with a shredding truck, but again, that's hellishly expensive and you need a large amount of drives to make it cost effective. Most companies will probably do off-site shredding where you get little secure bins, they get delivered, you load them in, the secure bin goes off-site and gets shredded off-site. If you're doing more than 20 drives a month, we're more cost effective than off-site secure bin shredding, which you can't even compare the level of our security as opposed to that. If you're doing way more than that, then yes, that's when it really becomes effective. Not only from the financial point of view, but purely security point of view. With regards to the contracts we offer, we're trying to stick to a 3-year contract. Again, because clients who need it, that they'll be processing regularly. We are looking at a few governments at the moment, and they actually requiring 5-year contracts because they generally like them longer, which is fine. And we do offer weekly hire. It's something new we've brought out purely because we've had enough inquiries come to us where they said, "We've got 100 drives that for the last 4 or 5 years we've been effectively stockpiling and we just don't know what to do with them." But they probably wouldn't benefit them having a trolley full time. So that we do weekly hire as well, where they can take it away for a week, process it, and then yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of before we finish the future, obviously this is creating waves and keeping you busy, but do you have any plans to build other types of units to just develop the service in general? Anything? Obviously you're not going to give away any secrets to your competition, but just in your general thoughts as to how this ATRAC might develop.
Yes, I'll be honest, there is something that we started with last week that'll really spur us along. Can't get too much into it, but I can say that in the next 6 months or so, we will be moving international. Right now we were focusing on the UK, but we've signed up with a large company who will give us access to 30 new territories that we're opening into, and we'll be launching that there. It's more, these territories are more Asia, Middle East, because the thing is you do have data centers there, but then you don't have the ecosystem that generally goes with data centers in Western world, if you know what I mean. So the thing is, you don't have a huge choice of ITAD to destroy data. So because of that, if they can do it in-house, it makes it so much more secure, and they don't have to rely on anyone. So we are speaking to a company there, and that'll go to 30 new territories. We have developed a new technology. We haven't quite launched it yet, but I don't want to speak about this one. It's actually a shredder. Most shredders generally are large truck-mounted or industrial three-phase 20-ton systems. We've developed an SSD shredder that is desktop size, and it runs off a normal 3-pin plug. And the nice thing is you can have a conversation like we are now with it operating next to me, and it wouldn't annoy you. So it's designed specifically for office use, where they're doing it's more on the SSD side, so it'll do CDs, phones, SSDs, NVMe's, M.2s, that kind of thing. And it's high volume throughput. So that's a new one we're launching probably in the next 30 days or so. We'll be going to market with that. And then, as you see, the MDDS, we've actually been approached by, let's say, a government body who's asked us to make a completely mobile one. And by completely immobile, I mean battery powered. So we are busy developing that for them, because they go to weird and obscure places where they don't always have power, they've told us. So they want something a little bit more robust, probably green in color. And that's one thing we're developing for them. And then we've also looking at trying to incorporate the shredder into our MDDS, which will become the new MDDS Plus. So it'll be able to do 2-stage data destruction on both solid state drives and hard drives. So a few things in the pipeline, yes.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to be very busy, but I mean, it's been great to chat to you, and it's exciting to hear about the new technology and the way you're developing it. But at least for now, really appreciate your time. Thank you
No
very
worries.
much.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.